What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? My best friend. After an argument with some kid from our school in a shop, we began walking away down the street. Kid, where you going, pussy? Friend, your mom's house. Kid, my mom lives the other way, idiot. Friend, nah, I meant your real mom. Air traffic control doing a poor job of vectoring an Airbus A330 in for landing. Pilot, you have left us too high. I do not think we can make the approach. ATC, you have got speed brakes on that thing. Do not you? Pilot, after a noticeable pause, yes. But those are for my mistakes, not yours. A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice. When this bag saw him. Bag, why bothering looking at that when you know you lines never be able to get one? My friend, the same reason you watch porn. The entire bus erupted and it is still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Game over, man. Game over. A dude in my class called out a semi-friend of mine that people are talking behind his back. In fact, that wasn't the case, as far as I know. And that guy said, well, you know what they say about you. Nothing. Nobody ducking cares. I'm just impressed that you are friends with a semi. So there was two girls fighting, and one of them looks at my sister who was minding her own business and says, you go to heck too. My sister, do you want me to say anything to your mom? My sister started saying go to heck as a moody, often rude teenager. She is a couple of years older than me. One day she said it to me after she'd been chastised by our dad for something she had done. I usually shrugged of her insults because they were meaningless. This day, however, I retorted, why would I go anywhere you are? I am still pleased at my 13-year-old brain for that one. I do remember her slamming her bedroom door as her comeback. It has gotta be the aliens locker room scene for me. Hudson, hey Vasquez. Have you ever been mistaken for a man? Vasquez, no. Have you? Edit, brain derped with the film title. That is what immediately came to my mind as well. English class in middle school. Kid A, yo. Kid B. Your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like shit having a mom that works at McDonald's. Kid B, at least my mom gets out of bed to go to work. English teacher far louder than he realized, damn. The rest of us were laughing so hard. The teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. Context: John Oliver from HBO interviews Stephen Hawking. May he rest in peace. Joe, and there may be a universe where I'm more intelligent than you. There may even be a universe where you are funny. I lost count of how many times I have seen that video and it still makes me laugh. The whole interview is just hilarious. Overheard by me, the school bus driver. One 5th grade student was belittling a 1st grader when it was time for a comeback. 1st grader shouts out, "Congratulations." The bewildered 5th grader had nothing to say and went to sit down with her friends in the back of the bus. Okay, that is kind of ducking adorable. Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a badass and intimidate my buddy. He says my feet are registered. Without missing a beat, my friend replies, where? Health sanitation. 40 years later I still crack up at this when it comes to mind. What does my feet are registered mean? He meant that he was an expert martial artist who had to register with law enforcement because his feet were lethal. In reality, they were, but only because he stunk from infrequent bathing. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you are right. That had to hurt." I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Edit, I was 9. Savage. Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I am not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job." Back in middle school I was at Walmart with a friend of mine looking for pants. Being a tomboy, I like to wear baggy boys pants. Nor did I wear makeup. Another kid came up to me and snarkily asked PFFD, "What are you, a boy or a girl?" And without missing a beat I responded, "Why? Do you think I'm hot?" He just got flustered and walked away mumbling obscenities. This was the 90s, so that gender question actually was insulting to my 14-year-old brain. Not the greatest, but I still hold pride for my quick wit back then. Too bad that's all gone now. I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was a supervisor. And one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my ass, and the old lady replied, "Where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back." During World War I, Switzerland had a tiny standing army, but they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home." David Letterman: I'm not as dumb as I look. Tina Fey: how could you be? I miss Tina Fey in movies. 18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, "Sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox." Wilkes shot back with, "That depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress." If you were not so stupid, what would you be? Asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat, "Single." I was the one insulted, but not the one with the comeback. I was out with a co-worker and her friends, and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that? Smells like pussy." A guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry, that must be me. I just ate. It was amazing." My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the duck out of the way. They were going at it, and his final words were, "Suck my dick, bitch," she said across the store. "If I could find it, bitch." Edit not Warmut. Even better oldie. There is a story about Margaret Asquith, a British socialite and author, meeting Jean Harlow and correcting Harlow's mispronunciation of her first name. No, the T is silent, as in Harlow. Chelsea Handler told Russell Brand, "The way you are looking at me makes me want to cover my vagina." He replied, "Maram, if I had a rubber glove, I'd do it for you." Crowd burst into laughter, and she even acknowledged that was good. My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was fierier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you had lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him and glowered, "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You are going to cut off your foot." Quiet guy in my art class got called queer bait. He replied with, "If I am the bait, then you are the catch of the day." What are you looking at? I am still trying to find out. When I used to say, "What are you looking at?" to my mum, she used to say, "I do not know." The label fell off. I used to respond with, "Good question." Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex it was terrible. The first time I had sex." And a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down, you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their shit. It was amazing. A friend of mine was getting bitched at by these two identical twin girls in a class I had once. He replied with a troubling look on his face and said, "If you two are identical, how come only one of you are hot?" That dude played the long game, as those two girls looked rather perplexed for the rest of the session. Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Ed O'Brands as his every attempt to stump Brands failed. This is what happened next. McGrath: "Why are you so fat?" Brands: "Because every time I duck your wife, she gives me a biscuit." On an Indian roast show, there were two bald twin brothers, and the roaster told them, "You two confuse me on a biological level. You two look like testicles, but you are both assholes. I'm still waiting for an opportunity to use that." Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word, "If." One of my co-workers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go duck his hand, and he responded with, "I have got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you had like to come in for an appointment then." The guy laughed his ass off and ended up coming in for the appointment. I was bullshitting with a couple of buddies and may have suggested that I banged one of their moms, to which said friend replied, "My mom is dead." My mouth bypassed my brain and replied, "That explains the dirt." This happened about 5 years ago now. There was this one annoying kid in my math class in high school, being loud, ignoring the teacher. He was mixed race, only bringing this up because it's related. He is talking rather loudly with the guy next to him. Teacher tells him shut the heck up. Kid makes a point that he is half black and being mean to him is racist, some stupid shit like that. Teacher looks him dead in the eyes and says, "I was talking to your white half." Stupid. Hands down my favorite teacher. We should learn from our mistakes, my friend, so that is why you have a younger sister. Easy. Now, do not let your brains go to your head. I'm definitely using this one. In what situation? The imaginary arguments you have in the shower. My grandma asked my cousin, who had had lots of partners and 2 kids at this point, if she was ever going to get married. Cousin, it is not the same nowadays. We do not buy cars without test driving them first. Grandma, yeah, but they do not let you put 100,000 miles on them either. Point goes to granny. I have a bunch, but one of the more memorable ones was back in 8th grade. For context, I didn't make the basketball team 7th grade, but I made the team in 8th grade. This kid that was on the team the previous year but didn't make it currently was really upset and telling me how bad I am and blah blah blah. I told him that if he is better than me then why didn't he make the team? And he replied with, "It's just cause of my grades, bro." So I replied with, "Oh, so you re just ducking stupid then?" He gave up cause it was either accept that he was bad or accept he was an idiot. So the classic, "You are adopted. At least my parents chose to have me." Had a friend growing up who had an adopted brother a year or so younger. They would always talk shit and fight a bit here and there, and one time my friend says to his brother that he was adopted and can go duck off. He knew he was adopted, and without missing a beat he shot back at my friend, "Yeah, well, clearly you weren't enough for mom and dad. That is why they bought me." Yes, he used the word bought. Once heard it as after they had you, they got to pick one they actually wanted. From the outside, stuff like that sounds rough, but they seem not to care much. Son, dad, you do not know how to make a joke. Dad, I made you. Son, you methodica. Dad, yes. Come on. Stop telling me how to live my life. I don't tell you how to live your life. It is not like I come down to the docks at night, knocking the sailoress cocks out of your mouth. I cannot remember the best one I have heard, but I can remember the best comeback I ever did. It is also, in fact, the only good comeback I ever did. I was in 7th grade, and we were in the locker room after gym. People were discussing shoe sizes because this one kid had enormous feet. I do not know if I have small feet, but mine were the smallest. They said, "Small feet. You know what that means." I did not mind too much, but one kid crossed the line. He said, "Do not worry, fella. There is like 10 different ways to make it bigger." So I said, "Have you tried all 10? Not very impressive. But it shut him up. I work at a hotel. A few years ago this guest got into a spat with our security officer over something, but she was not getting whatever she wanted, so she told him he was full of S. Our security officer replied immediately, "No, I'm not. I took care of that this morning. But thank you for your concern for my good health and regularity." At this time I was about to bust up laughing, so I had to excuse myself to the back office. And as I was leaving I heard him continuing on with this lady. Deadpan. But I promise I eat a healthy diet full of fiber. It warms my heart to know you are concerned with me having regular bowel movements. So the next time I'm constipated I know you are thinking of me. It continued on and on. And all the more he is playing this deadpan. And it is making the lady madder and madder. And I'm in the back laughing so hard I'm nearly crying. After that spiel was over though she did not give us any more problems the rest of the night. You know that biceps come in men's sizes, right? Oh, I think you come in enough men as it is. Oh, I think you come in men enough fair all of us. One back in the day, being openly gay could be downright dangerous. But George didn't he really gaff? Someone called him a queen and he responded, "I lines have you know my mother is still alive, which makes me a princess." 2 once worked a Karen who was actually named Karen. In addition to being a BTCH on wheels, she was also next level morbidly obese. One day, I was on the phone with one of our clients who, in the course of the conversation, complained about her to me. I took the complaint to our team lead. She said, "Yeah, I get a lot of complaints about her, but she says the clients don't like her because she is heavy." Before I could stop myself, I shot back with, "But Joe, if I were blind I'd still think she is a BTCH." The greatest comeback I witnessed was when Kumail Nanjiani was on mean tweets and someone asked, "Is your dick multiple colors?" And he said yes, every shade of your mom's lipstick. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.